Everyone, and welcome to your first transition surgery. So, the place to come with any questions. I appreciate that you haven't got through the training. Well, I would be surprised if you got through all the videos. Certainly not expecting you to have got through all the videos. I just wanted to use today to hone in on a couple of things that are quite important and then open the floor for questions. So you'll see in the layout that there's kind of four areas to transition. There's the preparing and getting ready for transition and checking that the animal is ready to transition or not. Then there's the support to the guardian. Then the third section is the after transition, and that includes some training around reincarnation as well. And then the fourth area is the transition wish list. So that's the kind of four areas. And I've tried to group, well, I haven't tried to, I have grouped the training in that order. And then there's a couple of just extra pieces that were, I thought were important to know that I've slid in as smoothly as I possibly can. If you are time starved and unsure where to start, I would probably work through it in the order that it's there. The preparing for transition is probably the most important piece because the majority of your cases are likely to be either after passing or when the guardian is saying, I don't know if they're ready to go. I need to find out if it's their time. So that is where the most of these cases come from, when the guardian's unsure and when they're already in spirit. So if you are time starved, start with preparing for transition. Unless you know that one of your case studies is already in spirit, then dive into after transition. So that's the way that I would manage that if anybody's feeling a bit time starved at the moment. So does anybody have any questions, either specific to the training, the handouts, or anything in the membership area, or in general around transition? Is there any kind of burning questions that anybody has? Yes, Sheila.
Surprise, I have two. So
to have a question or two.
so it's actually you so we can choose, we don't have to start with any particular transition type of case. We can just
No.
have any.
Yeah. So you can do. And so where the actual consultations fall into are, is my animal friend ready to leave? Are they ready to go? So that's one area of this case study. So there's three types of case studies. Is my animal friend ready to go? Then the second one is when they're already in spirit and you're communicating with an animal that's already passed over. And then the third area is the transition wish list. And this is where you might be working with an animal that's elderly. So this could even be a health case to start out with, because we have that overlap often between health and transition. So it might be that you're working with a health case with an animal that's in their golden years and they're not nearly anywhere needing to leave this world, but you might want to bring in the transition wish list just to see what their thoughts are around end of life care, if they have a terminal condition or a condition that can't be cured, or the prognosis isn't great. Do they want intensive treatment? Do they want the works to keep them here, or would they rather just leave? These are the kind of questions that you can be having. And where that's also really good is for any of you that are feeling a bit like, oh, it's death, it's dying, I don't know how to talk about that. If you're in that kind of place, then doing a transition wish list is a really good way to get you familiar with the questions, because the questions are not that different to what's weaved in to the other areas of transition. There are some that are a little bit different, but it does open up that door for you as a practitioner, and just practicing getting them out your mouth, rolling them off your tongue, so that it just becomes a little bit more comfortable without the pressure of knowing that a decision needs to be made for this animal. So that's another way that you can use the transition wish list. Now, I do not mind if you have a case study ready to go right now that is an elderly animal that's not necessarily close to death, and transition wish list would be the best match there. I don't mind if you've got that now ready to go, just so you can get that first one in. But I really don't want you to use your case studies with me on transition wish lists. So if you've got one and it's good to go, great, but don't have any more than one. And what I would recommend in an ideal world where everybody's got lots of time and it's nothing's an issue, I would recommend that you, if you're nervous, if you're feeling nervous about broaching death and dying questions, practice with the transition wish list in your practice time, and then bring to the table an actual transition case study. That would be my gold standard for you, so that you can do that practice. And you know, even if you're working with an animal that's young and it's about something totally different, you could say, look, could you help me out here? I'm starting to move into working with animals that are at the end of their life, and I'm a bit nervous about some of the questions. Can I practice with you? Can I practice just asking the questions? I just need to practice at saying them out loud. I would be very surprised if an animal turned around and said, no, I'm not helping you with that. So you can just practice those questions with whomever you're working with right now. Just ask them if they can give you 10 minutes of their time to help you. Because if you are feeling uncomfortable, it's just because you haven't said it out loud yet. That's all it is. That's all it is. Once you've said those questions or asked those questions a couple of times, it will start to feel totally okay and totally normal. So I just want a little show of hands. Is anybody feeling nervous because they're asking questions around death? Is anybody like, oh my gosh, I don't know if I can do this? Or are you all feeling oh, you're all feeling all right? Oh, okay, grand. Brilliant. Okay. So what I would recommend then is that none of you send me a transition wish list as your case study. So there you go. You set the bar for yourselves there. So I want a real, could be at the end of their life, or one that's already in spirit. Now, here's the thing, we don't really all want to be living with animals that are at the end of their life, and we've got a massive pool to draw from these case studies, so it's not ideal. So I do appreciate that it might not always be so easy just to get one of those case studies straight away when you need it, but we have done some work with Chauncey, so you've all had practice. We've all had a couple of sessions with Chauncey now, who is at the end of his life, and he's still here, by the way. So you have had a bit of practice there, and it's no different from the work that you did and practice with Chauncey. But this is where you want to lean into each other and into the group to find out if anybody does have an animal who is ill or at that end stage or very close to that end stage of their life. Okay, is that clear about that? So there's 4 kind of areas in the transition subject, and there's 3 areas for case study: preparing for transition to find out whether they're ready to leave or not, after they've already passed, and then the transition wish list, which is really just where you're setting everything up well in advance so that everything is ready should anything happen to that animal. And you would always want to revisit that. That's not a document that you create for the guardian once. It's not a one and done. So if you're doing that, say when the animal's 10 and they're in good health, you want to revisit that when they're 11 and then 12, and certainly revisit it more regularly if they are in decline or they have a condition that that is serious or life-threatening. You want to check in more regularly. Okay, any questions about that part? Is that all feeling clear?
Yes, that was all very, very clear. Yes. Thank you.
Now you had two questions. Did I answer two or did I just answer one? I've lost my thread.
Just one.
Oh, it was just one. Yeah.
Yeah, my next one, I actually have 3, but the other one's not related at all to this, so if we have time or there's extra, I can get in that. This one,
Okay.
is just quick so Christina can get her, question in. So, um, in general, when we're sending evaluation forms and follow-ups, if someone you've asked a few times and checked back in and checked back in, do you just give up and leave it? Like,
Is this for evaluation forms or follow up or both?
are they the same? Oh, the 2 forms that we send
Yeah.
to the guardian, for getting our critiques and whatnot.
Right. So this is my stance on it. My stance is if you've given your time and your energy to communicate with their animal, then the least they can do is put pen to paper, keyboard to screen, and send you back the evaluation form. I think it's rude not to do that. That's the agreement that you entered into. That's what the contract says. So I feel really strongly that you deserve to get that feedback from the guardian because you've put the time, the effort, and the work in. Do I need it to pass you on this program? No, because feedback is subjective, and I've seen so many evaluations over the years. You have no idea where somebody, the guardians maybe scored somebody a 3 out of 5, and then has said it's because they didn't do X, Y, or Z, or I expected A, B, and C. And I read it and I think they did that for you. They did that, and the guardian just hasn't seen it, or it's not landed the way they thought it would. So the evaluation is to some extent subjective anyway, so I don't need it to assess your progress on the program, but I do think it's helpful for you to get that from the client. However, and this is quite a big however, if you have had a difficult case study, you've been chasing the client the whole way through, the return on your transcribe is sparse or not helpful, then there's been many a time when I've said to a student, don't even send an evaluation form, or if you've asked for it once, don't chase it. Just like, this is not feeling good, let's just draw a line under it and move on. So there's been many a time where I've said to a student, I don't think you're going to get the feedback that you need to grow from this. So let's just move on. So there is a place where I would be saying, don't chase it, just leave it, and that would be that. So do you have a specific scenario? Because I know I've spoken around that generally, and there's 2 camps there. So there's, yes, I believe that you should get feedback for the hard work and the time and the effort. This work doesn't happen in half an hour. This work doesn't even happen in 2 hours. You're all giving up several hours of your time to do this. So yes, I believe that you should have that, but definitely there are sometimes some scenarios where we just draw a line under it and don't go on. So give me a little bit of context of where you are, Shayla.
So this was with, yes, it's a, actual thing. It was with my second case study with the, feedback, the guardian who gave me 0 feedback and
There you
asked me
go.
to identify somebody, and so I'm starting to feel I've checked in, one other time, and then she asked me, I need a different format, but I sent her the format that she used when we did our communication, and then so I sent her all the formats so that she, hopefully that would make it easier, plus a link to Google Drive, which is already more, I feel like, work than I should have to do. But
Mm-hmm.
I'm feeling
Mm-hmm.
very uncomfortable with pushing
Yeah.
pushing back and asking,
So
and I did that before Christmas, and she's now not said anything. I'm starting to think it's not worth it because
no,
I don't want
draw
to.
a line under it. Draw a line under it. So that's a now. The first thing you said to me was she didn't give me much feedback. So remember when
No,
I give my explanation, that's one of the things that I cited, because that's where I see it when students are having to push and push and push to get the paperwork. back, it's usually when the guardian has already shown their colours, and there's no judgment here, but they've shown their colours, they've shown their style, they've shown their commitment. That's a better word. They've shown their commitment by not fully committing to the feedback process, and I can see that on the transcribe. So I'm not surprised then that you're not getting the valuation form back. And the fact that you've actually created that in multiple formats for her and put it up on a Google Drive, you've done more than you need to do. Okay. So what I want to, so draw a line under that. Don't reach out. Don't do anything. Just unless you want me to go in with the big boots on and say, you signed a contract, you said you would do this. My feeling is she's still not going to do it. And if she does, it'll be grudgingly because I came in and said so. And even that might work. But for some people, it does. So I have on some occasions gone in and said, you signed a contract, you agreed that this is what you would do. I need you to redo the feedback for the student. I've done that many times. But my gut feeling is move on.
Okay.
So I want to ask you a question around that though, Sheila. So right at the beginning, before you did the work, did you have any kind of feeling or inkling about that case before you actually did the work?
Yeah, and we spoke about this during our feedback call because this person gave me zero feedback, and then I had my meltdown that I talked about under the canopy of trees, and it turns out a lot of it was right, which came out later, but she was wanting a specific to identify people and specific things from it. So I learned a lot, but yes, I remember looking at her photo before I knew that I have a knowing and feeling like, I feel like this is going to be combative and I need to stay away from that. I did. I should have listened.
Right. So that's it. So you felt it was going to be combative. You had that knowing, but you still went in there and you set yourself up for that. But you learned.
I thought, oh, maybe I'm just making that up. Stop being negative.
That's how we do it. I love that. I know I will have shared this because this is the piece that this was my learning piece. It was before Zoom. Skype was brand new. I'd never used Skype before. And I had a client in Australia. I used to do, for those that are old enough to remember, there used to be phone lines like Planet Phone and Planet Earth, and you used to be able to do international calls for like a penny a minute. So that's how I would do all my calls. They were done like on this special number, and it was like a penny a minute. So I had this client in Australia and she'd asked me to work with her two dogs. And I just had a feeling. I couldn't name the feeling. I didn't know what the feeling was about this client, but I just had a feeling. So I had a feeling once about a student as well. And so that feeling, even when I didn't know what it was at the time in both those scenarios, they both became major, major headaches for me. So it's about that learning, and she wanted to do the call on Skype, and I thought the discomfort that I had was because I'm not very techy, so I didn't know how to use Skype. I didn't even know what Skype was, so I didn't want to, I had to go and learn all this new technology. So I thought it was all of that, and then when we got into the actual case study feedback, I just ended up giving her a refund. I was just like, take money, like I don't want anything to do. I asked her what our dogs' names were, and she said, well, if you're an animal communicator, you should know that. That's what she said to me. I was like, okay. So remember what I said earlier? Your clients show their colors, they show their style, whatever you want to call it. So she showed very clearly right from the start, I'm not even giving you their names. That she wouldn't even give me their names. So when you have that feeling, so I just wanted to check in, did you have that feeling? I forgot that we'd spoken about it. Yes, so you had the feeling and you now know. So that's great learning experience. So yes, you want the evaluations for your own learning and your growth, but sometimes there's just a place to say no, and this is definitely a place to say no and chalk it up to experience and just move on.
A great relief. Thank you very much.
You are so welcome. Anybody else got any questions, whether it's about transition or Christina? And then, right, Christina, then Norma.
It was just a question of curiosity. Did you get any feedback from Chauncey's owners about the things that we came up with last time?
Yes, so I spoke to her last week, and what's really interesting is there's been no change in his pain medication. I assumed that there would have been because I was getting his pain levels were lowered as well. So no change in his medication. She couldn't see the vet. She has two vets in different parts of the states because she lives in one area and has a second home in another area, but she was traveling to Florida over the Christmas break. But I knew where she was going in Florida, and I might have mentioned this in the call, I can't remember, but I realized afterwards, I was like, oh, well, they're actually at the Temple of the Universe. Temple of the Universe, the energy there is, I don't know if anybody's aware of Michael Singer. He's written The Surrender Experiment, The Untethered Soul. I can't remember what his latest book is. So that's his land. That's going to be proper supercharged. That's sacred land where they are. And I thought, well, Chauncey's been in that sacred space and that energy, that healing energy, in that area of the Temple of the Universe. So I had said to the client, I'm wondering if the area that he was in has contributed to him feeling better. And also I'm aware that my client is she's shifting. So I spoke about this in the transition training because it comes up often, where giving permission is really, really important. It's so essential that you give your animals permission to leave this world whenever they are ready. Now, I said that to my client on the very first consultation that I had with Chauncey, which would probably be about a year ago. And she said to me that she'd given him permission to leave. Now, I'm not doubting that she did that. If she says she did, then I know that she would have. But everything in my body as a practitioner was telling me that that's what she needed to do. So when I recommended that to her, she's telling me that she's already done that. And then the next time I worked with Chauncey, I was getting that same feeling of the need. He didn't say, I need permission from my mum. He did not say that. It was what I was feeling in my body, that this permission needed to happen, permission giving needed to happen. So when I spoke to my client, I said to her, I know you've already given him permission, but I think it might be an idea just to sit down with him and really go into that place of gratitude and appreciation of him, and then remind him and reinforce that you give your permission. So she told me that she did that, but I have still felt with Chauncey that there was still something that was keeping him here connected to his guardian. And so when I spoke to her maybe last summer, so it's a while back, she was doing a lot of release work, and she was reading I've read the book as well. I think it's called Letting Go or Letting It Go. No, Letting Go. So she was reading the book Letting Go, and I know that she's read it twice, and I know that that's part of her practice. And so when she went to the Temple of the Universe, I asked her how that was because I quite fancied going myself. And she said, oh, it was amazing. And I think I have concluded the last piece of my surrender. And so when I got that message from her, it's like, I wonder if that's what Chauncey's been waiting for that last piece of his mum's surrender. So I wanted to share that with you. So that answers your question, Christina, but it also is an important teaching point in the topic of transition, because clients can be saying to you, oh, I have given them permission, I have given them permission. But there's a difference between verbalizing the permission. There's a difference between verbalizing it and still not really wanting them to go. And then there's a difference between verbalizing it and meaning it, but not actually being able to, but you don't know that you're not able. And that was the conclusion that I reached with that client. That she'd said it, she meant it, but there was still some work to do before it was a full kind of bona fide permission giving. Does that make sense? Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. Okay. Any other questions around transition or any other case studies? Yes. Oh, of course, Norma, you did have a question. You had a question already. Yes.
Okay. Okay, I'm actually uh, working with something right now, which just has happened to come up, and it's my sister-in-law, her cat. Now, with all the traveling over the Christmas period and so forth, we did stay with her for a couple of nights, and one of her cats came, and this is a poorly cat. It's an elderly cat. She's 16, and she would come in, which she's never done before, and sit on my chest when I was in bed. And I know she was telling me, she was saying goodbye to me because she felt she wouldn't see me again. But I was getting information as well, which I didn't at that point pass on to the Guardian because well, it was a lot of other things going on as well. But last week she called Peter in tears to say that the cat, Millie, had stopped eating, had stopped drinking. Oh, what do I do? Should I ring the vet? Should I get a euthanasia? All of this. And he said, I think, you should speak to Norma. Anyway, I talked to her, and I actually, without linking with Millie, I guess because there was that previous I don't know, communication, I knew that she did not want the vet. She did not want the vet. So at that point I said to Sue, not tonight, leave it another night, see how she is tomorrow. There's a possibility she could pass this evening. Give her permission to pass if that's what happens and things. So she hasn't passed yet, and I've been able to give some information. I've been linking in each day just for a short period, and I've been able to give information to Sue, such as giving her specific things to eat, which my sister-in-law hadn't thought of. And when she's given them to Millie has really enjoyed them, really been enthusiastic about it. So I would like to continue with this because she said to me February. I've got that came through. But my issue is with my sister-in-law.
Right.
Because on the one hand, she's really interested in hearing about what I do, and she will accept certain amounts of information, and then it's almost as though she gets frightened. And now I'm at the point where I've been checking in on Millie, and I've been able to give little bits of information, and I'm very careful how I give this information because I know what she's like. And last night it was very much yeah, she's fine, she's hanging Sue. And I know, and I spoke to Peter about it, and I said, this is her way of saying, I'm scared about this and everything else. Now, I would really like to continue communicating with Millie and somehow finding the way of I suppose, drip feeding information. But there's no way in hell that Sue is going to sign a referral form or anything else.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. I have a suggestion.
yeah.
So first of all, I think you should keep communicating with Millie. Millie has sought you out.
Yeah.
She's initiated this.
Mm.
So that's your permission.
Yeah.
She's at the end of her life. She sought you out. where I always say you absolutely have to have the guardian's permission, it's because, and you're facing this already, Norma, that if she, because your sister-in-law knows what you do, there is a connection between the two of you, but she's very guarded. I think you've hit the nail on the head. She's probably scared. What's she going to hear? Most guardians are scared either because it's too woo and out there, and it's scary because it's not their belief system, or they're scared of what their animals are going to say about them. So it's usually that one of those places, or both.
A bit of both, yeah.
That's where the fear comes from. So this is where our job is, to reassure our clients that in all the time that you've been doing this, that animals very rarely tittle-tattle on whatever's happened. They will only share what is important and meaningful to them at the time of the consultation. So and you have somebody saying, oh, I'm not sure, and then you can just be direct, and this is for everyone. So you can just be direct and say, it sounds like you're a bit unsure about it. What specifically are you worried or concerned about? And they might say, oh, because I haven't always behaved brilliantly, or I haven't always been the best guardian or the best person. And then you just keep it light. You know that's my mantra. Keep it light. If somebody said that to me, I would be like, holy moly, I totally am with you on that one. I've not always been the best guardian either. You're just human. But in all the years that I've been doing this work, animals very rarely say, oh, and she did this and she did that. It's not what they're interested in. They live in the moment, and they'll be sharing in the moment what is important to them and what they need in the here and the now, rather than reminiscing on a million things that didn't go well in the past. So that's how I would say that to a client, have that kind of conversation. But coming back to your very specific piece here, Norma, you do have that connection because she knows you, and she knows that you're communicating with her cat. So at least that's there. But this is why we always have the guardian's permission, because when you want to say, right, she's not eating, but she will eat this, this, and this, you want to be able to give that information to somebody so that they can feed their animals. So that's why we always have permission to communicate. But here, Millie sought you out. She's at the end of her life, or at that stage, and she sought you out. So in my book, that's the permission. She's given the permission. And what you, and again, this is for everyone. So if something similar happens to you, but you don't have the relationship with the guardian, then you need to be very clear with the animal. I will listen and do as much as I can for you, but I'm limited in any change happening because I don't have access to your guardian. You've sought me out, and I don't know who your guardian is, or change might be limited because your mum isn't. She's happy for me to speak to you, but she's not 100% fully on board yet. Now, I'm aware that you've posed this question. It's a really powerful question. So I'm dipping in and out for what's specific to you and what's for everyone, because you might be in a position where the animals initiated the conversation, but you don't know who the guardian is. So I've had that. The very first dog that ever spoke to me, I didn't know who the guardian was. It's like, what am I meant to do with this information? But when you do know who the guardian is, or you discover who the guardian is, I do think we should at least take a pop at opening up the conversation. I think we owe that to the animals. So it's finding your way of saying in a grounded, non-lunatic way, oh, by the way, your dog's been talking to me, or your horse has been asking me to tell you this. So it's finding your way to do that. So I do think we have a duty to at least try and open up that door of communication. So back to you, Norma. I would, if it feels okay, don't do anything that doesn't feel okay. You know your sister-in-law better than me. If it feels okay, I would go to your sister-in-law and say, you know that I've been speaking to Millie. We're actually looking for case studies. I wouldn't even say transition. I would just say we're looking for a case, unless she does know, doesn't she?
Yeah.
Right. So she knows. So you could say, we've just started the transition preparing for transition part of the program, I would
Mm.
love to use Millie as a case study. Would you be okay with that? And then just see what she says. Worst case scenario, she says no.
Mm.
And you say, okay, are you still happy for me to keep chatting to her the way that I have been? She's going to say yes.
Mm.
And are you happy for me to, here's your next question, and are you happy for me to just update you as and when that happens? She's going to say yes. So then what I would do, Norma, is I would do it as a case study. Now, you don't have her permission to do it as a case study, but really what you don't have her permission to do is for her to be an active part of that. But you could do it as a case study and have me guide you on it as a case study without having to involve her with doing an evaluation and giving you feedback on the transcribe. I'll know from your questions and from Millie's responses where that needs to go. I don't need her feedback on the transcribe to support you with that. And I think that would be of best support to you dealing with Millie without a full 100% on board guardian, and of best support to Millie as well. So that would be my suggestion.
Okay.
But she might surprise you, Norma. She might surprise you. You know, if you say we're just starting this week.
Yes,
We're
she
just
might.
starting. Because it fits with where she is. So she's obviously worried about Millie.
Mm.
She's worried, she's worried, or she wouldn't have let you talk to her.
Mm.
So she might actually say, okay, what do I have to do? And you say, oh, you just need to, have a look at what I've got and give me your comments, but I can do it with you. I'll make it as easy for you as possible. And if there's anything you're worried about, just let me know. Or if you've got any questions, just ask. I'm learning too. We're learning in this together.
Mm.
And I don't know if there's a power imbalance in the relationship, but that would put you both in an equal footing. We're both learning together.
Yeah. 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 I mean, I'll give it a shot and see what happens. It's just that, I've noticed that I will send a text just to say, how the feeling I got today, or this is what I received. And sometimes there's nothing at all. And then
the thing to remember,
that.
the thing to remember as well is we all have different communication styles.
Yeah.
So, and I'm taking guesses just based on the time that I've known some of you here in this group, in this program. So, Shayla, you are expressive. So am I, right? So we both, if we could find 10 words to say something that Alison would say in 3, we probably would. So Alison's the opposite. So Alison, and if any of you disagree, just let me know. But Alison, you're short, sweet, direct, to the point. There's no point in using any extra words if you don't need to. Whereas I'm like, right, how can I get this sentence down to this? And that's still too big for somebody that just likes a small sentence. So when we express in one way and the person that we're communicating with expresses in another way, then we can sometimes misconstrue that as being not interested, not committed, and it's maybe just not that at all. It's just they are short and direct. And Diana, I would say that you're quite direct as well. Would that be fair? That you're just to the point. It's like, let's not faff around this. So here in this group already, you've got Sheila and I that would be like, blah, 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 blah. You've got Alison and Diana that would be like, So there we have 4 of us, all at different places on those 2 ends of the spectrum. So when somebody is short, sweet, direct, it can sometimes come over, especially because this is the other thing, you're sending the text through the lens of being highly committed and dedicated to her cat and to finding out what's wrong and to be updating your sister-in-law and to be keeping her abreast of everything that's going on and so you're doing it through the lens of, this is really big, important work that I'm doing here for this cat. She's sought me out. I'm feeling the responsibility of hearing her and passing that on. So you're sending every text message through that lens. And she might be receiving it as, oh, wow, okay, I didn't know that, right? Great, thank you. Send.
Yeah,
We don't know the non-spoken piece.
yeah. I
We
think what I
guess
need,
that part.
yeah, I think what I need to do is actually speak to her. Pick up the phone and speak to her about it. Because I rang her when she rang Peter in tears about the cat, and I know that helped her. It's just she tends to be a texter, so
Right.
she feels more
So,
comfortable with that.
so
But
there
I
you
think
go.
for this, I think I need to speak to her.
So remembering that she's a texter,
Mm,
it might be more beneficial for her to have a texting conversation than a spoken one. But it
mm,
sounds for you, Norma, that at this stage of ironing and smoothing everything out,
mm.
that you need that to be verbalized so that you're clear.
Yeah, I think so. So she can just, if she is afraid, she can tell me she's afraid. Because sometimes it's easier, isn't it, to tell someone
If
rather
you're a
than,
speaker, if you're a
well,
speaker. So
yeah,
what you could say to her on the phone is, if anything comes to mind after you come off the phone,
yeah.
if there's anything that you're worried about, just drop me a text.
Mm, yeah,
And then that allows her to communicate in her preferred communication style.
yeah, yeah.
Something came to me when you were speaking. Yes, so when you ask if she wants to be a case study or you have a conversation with her, keep the focus on the purpose of the
Yes.
case study is just to hear what Millie's views are about her health
Mm,
and whether it's time to call the vet or not. So you're really clear, you're not trawling back through history or anything like that. It's just about finding out how she is in the moment.
mm,
And what we can also do is we can set up a sign for when it is her time. So I want to come back to something that you said. And Diana, if you want to chip in here, please feel free. So I am a big advocate, as you know, we're the voice for the animals. We share what they say. And remember as well, and it is in this training specifically, I think it's in just about everyone, but my belief and my mantra is know all that you say. You don't need to say all that you know. And that was one of the pieces, you're working to hear, Norma. You are choosing and being selective in what you're sharing with the Guardian. So that's a classic example of using your discernment as not just an animal communicator, but somebody that knows the Guardian and knows what they're likely to run with and what they're not likely to run with. And then you risk shutting the whole thing down. So you're doing that really well. Know what you do say, but you don't have to say everything that you know. So there's that piece. But you did say she doesn't want the vet. So this is how I would deal with this. And I'm just aware it's not explicitly in, I don't think it's explicitly in any of the training videos. I would always have a measure in there, some kind of disclaimer. I would always have a disclaimer in there, because if worst case scenario, an animal deteriorates and they get taken to the vet and the vet says you should have had them here yesterday, and then they say, oh, well, the animal communicator told me not to bring them. So what I would be very, very clear about is, and using your example, Norma, I would be saying to Sue, when I asked Millie if she wanted the vet, she said no. She's very clear that she doesn't want the vet, but I want to remind you that as her guardian, if you are at all worried or you see her decline, that my first place to go would be to go to the vet.
Yeah. No, I did actually do that. I know I said yes, she didn't want to see the vet, but I did follow that up by saying, at the end of the day, you are there with her, you see her, and if you feel that you need to go to the vet, you go to the vet.
Yeah.
So
and I'm glad you didn't share that, because that's what brought me to this teaching point, and it's for everyone. It's just creating that that disclaimer so that you are protecting yourself and keeping yourself in animal communication line, because all you're doing is sharing the animal's view. It's not your view. It's not you saying, oh, as an animal communicator, don't take her to the vet. You're saying, as an animal communicator, I can tell you that your cat has expressly said she doesn't want to go to the vet. As an animal lover and a guardian of my own animals, I'm just reminding you that it's like children. Like, it's like me. I don't go to the doctor. But, you know, as my mum said to me last week, said, you really need to go to the doctor. I was like, I know. And then I met a woman, excuse me, I met a woman out walking on Sunday or Monday, just met her at the park. She's an ex-nurse, and we just got chatting. She had 3 beautiful dogs, and we just got talking. And she said to me, you really need to go and get that operation. I was like, right, okay. So that's classic.
3. Yeah.
That's classic. I know that I need to go and have this operation and I don't want to have it, and I've been putting it off, seeing if I can heal myself. And yes, it's got better, but I'm at a place where I need to make a decision. But if you're asking me, I'm saying no. That doesn't mean it's best and right for me. And that's what we need to remember with our animals. So Diana, I really don't ever intend to put you on the spot. So if you don't ever want to answer any of my questions, you know, your no is always welcome. But would that be something that you would recommend, or do you have a different viewpoint around that kind of disclaimer, for want of a better word, around the I don't want to go to the vet piece?
I think you always need to cover your back. And I also think that you're communicating at a snapshot in the moment. And not only can it change from day to day, it can change from hour to hour and minute to minute. And an animal's not always aware of what might be ahead. Yeah. The flip of that is, of course, you know, when I said I'd actually gone and sat in the surgery so Sarah could get some work done. Yeah. A cat came in, which she's seen in the consult, and decided, yes, it needed x-raying. I looked at the x-rays, looked at the cat's breathing, and then looked at the cat's face. And I said, yes, well, I said, the x-rays tell you all the story. The cat's breathing is not good. I said, but that cat isn't ready for going yet. I said, she actually wants to do it on her own at home. And Sarah, who communicates just as well, although she wouldn't recognise that's necessarily what she's doing, said, I agree. She says, what do I do? I said, well, book her in for a consult tomorrow when your actual vet that you're employing is in, and let them deal with it, you know. Yeah.
Right.
I said, but she really doesn't want to. She wanted Christmas at home and to go under her own steam, and she's still got life force there. But looking at her breathing, you'd be thinking, oh my God, why have you left the cat like this?
Yeah.
Don't know. Not easy.
Absolutely. And that's one of the pieces. So it's in the transition training, that it's really important that you let your guardian know, your client know, that this is a snapshot in time. And like Diana said, it's in the training videos, that this can change not just from day to day, but from hour to hour. And I have had so many examples over the years of animals that have said to me, I'm not ready to go. And then within 24 hours, they are ready to go. And it can change from morning to afternoon, from nighttime to morning. And that is part of what our job is, to prepare the person. But the key piece here is that you are not making the decision, either for the animal to be put to sleep or not put to sleep, or for the animal to see the vet or not see the vet. Now, in the training, the focus is on, it's not your responsibility and it's not your decision to make the decision whether the animal is put to sleep or not. But it's exactly the same thing about them going to the vet. It's not your decision. Your job is just to relay what the animal said. And it's that covering your back thing, because you are not making the decision, but you're letting them know that this is what your cat is saying to me in the here and the now, in this moment in time. And that could change, and it could change very quickly. And that's the message that we give to the guardian. So I can't remember if I've revamped the handouts, and I had a piece in and then I took it out because I can't remember if I ended up doing a different handout. I can't remember if it's in there or not, so I'm going to share it here, and I'm going to expect you all to remember this forevermore, of course. But it was a bit about, no, I did put it in. I did go back and put it in. It's about not letting, and I know most of us are doing our consultations distantly with photographs, but if you are in the situation like Diana described, where you are seeing an animal up front, or you it might be a family member or a friend's companion, don't let the physical disposition of an animal sway you before you've even done the consultation.
Oh.
There has been many an animal that I have seen that looks like it's on its last legs. And you think, oh my God, that seems cruel to keep them here. But when you do the communication, they're like, no, I'm not ready. I'm not ready. Not ready. So just don't let your physical impression of an animal sway you, and also don't let the guardian's impression sway you. Because remember, when you get the referral form, everything's through the lens of the guardian. If the guardian's worried, you know, the back end seems to be going, they're not eating as great, I think it's their time to go. If you go into the consultation through that lens, it's the guardians. This is why we always want to get to that neutral place first, because you might find that when you do the consultation, they might be like, yeah, my back end's going, yeah, I'm off my food, but I'm still not ready to go. And that's just what it is. So don't allow the physical view, the physicality of an animal, or the guardian's impression or belief about their companion sway you. You still want to go in neutral and find that information out directly from the animal. Now, Norma, does that help you in terms of, you're going to ask your sister, your sister-in-law, you can say, be excited. You'll never guess what, we just started transition. We started it today. I would love to use Millie, or would you like for me to use Millie so that I can practice with her? And the purpose of the practice is just to see how she's feeling at this stage of her life, and what things we can put in place for her.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it. It's like it's all focused on Millie and helping Sue help Millie, and then you can say to her, if you've got any worries, concerns, then we can, you know, text me, or if anything comes to you at 3 o'clock in the morning, drop me a text. Don't phone me at that time. You can make light of it, you know, whatever your relationship with her is, but that allows her to process. And if she's better at texting, then she can text any thoughts or concerns to you. And if she's filled with, oh, what does it involve? What have I got to do? You just say, well, I'll communicate with Millie, and then I'll phone you, or I can send you the transcribe, whatever you prefer. We can chat it through on the phone, or you can just read it and let me know what you agree with, and we just take it from there. And then I just get you to do a little evaluation form to see how you found the process. And if she doesn't want to do that, we'll just let it go.
Yeah.
I'm really feeling you're meant to work with this cat, Norma. Like every cell in my body is saying you're meant to work with this cat. So if she doesn't want to do the evaluation form, let's just let her not do it. Just let's get the work done. Yeah. Okay. Good luck with that. You're going to smash it. Okay, anybody else got any questions, transition or otherwise, case study? Yes, Alison.
Okay, so I'm falling behind with my case studies.
You're not behind.
Okay, I've only done
Got
2.
one. You've got you've just got your last behaviour to get into me.
No,
Nobody's
I've done
put in
behaviour.
sorry, your last health.
Yeah.
Nobody's done a transition one yet.
So if I get that done soonish, is that okay?
Yeah.
When's
So this week's a non-submission week. So if you can get that written up and into me, I'll do a video call for you. I'll do a video feedback and fire it off to you. And then you'll just be ready to do your transition for next week. And that's you, same place
when's
as
the
everybody
transition
else.
one got to be in? Next week?
Not next week.
Week commencing
So that'll be the 21st. 20th, sorry, 20th.
Oh, yeah. Okay, Norma, I'll be on to you for that cat for my the other one. Right, okay, I'm up to speed now. Thank you.
You are, and so you're breathing easy now.
Yeah, of course.
Good, 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 good. I love it. I love it. Any other questions, thoughts, musings? Yes, Sheila, just open up your mic, honey.
I thought of one that's actually related to transition. Something I've actually been wondering for a while. So, because this scared me a bit because I didn't know how I could get it so awfully wrong. So there's this goat that I would visit at this farm sanctuary, and I would just go and sit and hang out with. And the goat's brother passed away. And so there was a day where I was practicing and I was just wondering, how are you? And long story short, there was a point where I heard, I think I'm ready to go in words. And then I asked, whoa, okay, well, when? And, had the bit of that. And basically what came back was 2 weeks. And it was very clear. And that he was ready to go. So, bit of a sad, just a disclaimer. 2 weeks came by. I went back to visit. He was still there, but what had happened at the sanctuary was some electrical circuit went wrong, and their pen of bunnies all passed on. So obviously that was like, okay, that was a lot to take in, but if this was somebody's friend that I was speaking to and is not just for fun, and I told them that, I don't know why I heard, I think I'm ready to go, because that was really specific. It was 2 weeks on the dot that happened, and he's still there. So I don't know what happened. It might have been a translation issue for me.
So
Uh,
I really am not being difficult here at all. I just want to be super clear. What's the question?
What could I have missed? Because if I was hearing what question, how could I have clarified
Right.
this? Because
what makes you think you missed something?
Because he said specifically he's ready to go, and he didn't go, but others did. So it felt like he knew something was going to happen, or maybe others were ready to go and it was part of the plan. I just don't know why I specifically thought him, just him.
So I'm smiling because I really think you're overthinking it. There was an electrical fault, horrific, tragic situation. A pen of bunnies were wiped out. Electrical fault, not anything to do with the goat.
Yeah.
Did he
Oh,
foresee that? Maybe, but if he foresaw that, he wouldn't be talking about himself. He would be talking about there's death coming.
Yeah.
So remember what we just said in relation to, on the back of speaking to Norma about Millie. Diana and I were both saying how things can change, where they're not ready on the Monday morning, but they are on the Monday afternoon. Or they're not ready on the Tuesday, but they're definitely ready on the Wednesday. It can happen the other way as well. And that there is a training video, and I think it's the am I ready I think it's the no, I'm not ready to go one. I can't remember, but it's in the training where this happens at both ends of the spectrum. So I'm asking you, Sheila, because it's your question, but I'm actually asking everybody for a raise of your hand if this resonates. It might not. Maybe it's just me. But have you or anybody here in the group ever had a time in your life where either the pain of the emotion that you were dealing with or physical pain in your body that you were dealing with, you were just like, I have had enough. I'm just done with this, right? And I'm feeling really emotional all of a sudden. So we've all had that. And I've got goosebumps everywhere. Woo! So we all know that feeling. And where are these tears coming from? Okay. We all know that feeling. So when you spoke to that goat, he just lost somebody. Is that right? He just lost somebody. So he's grieving.
Yeah.
And he's probably in that place that we all can identify with, where he's like, I've had enough. I think 2 weeks, 2 more weeks of this is probably the most that I can do. I'm going to be gone in 2 weeks. I don't want to feel like this beyond 2 weeks. And then in 2 weeks' time, conditions, circumstances have shifted.
Yeah.
So he's now thinking differently. We're all still here. We're all still here. We didn't take our sharp exit out of this world. And this is why when you go through the training videos, the one where it's when they answer yes, they're ready to leave, I have a secondary question in there, which is it a true yes? And it is our job to find out if that is a true yes. Because in the moment, like you experienced there, Shayla, in the moment, we can all receive a yes, I've had enough, I'm ready to go, I'm done with this body. But the true yes is when you ask, if we could find a way to alleviate your emotional pain, your physical pain, your mobility, improve your sleep, whatever the scenario is, if we can find a way to improve that for you, would you still want to leave? And if it's still a yes, I want to go, then it's a true yes. So when I asked one of my dogs if she was ready to go, it was a yes. And I said, if we could find a different way for you, would you want to stay? And she said, yes, we found a different way.
Okay. So it was Mhm.
So in answer to your question, when you spoke to him, I don't think you got anything wrong. I don't think you missed anything. In that moment, he was grieving and didn't want to hang around.
Mm.
And then 2 weeks to the day, I think it was just some weird, I don't actually believe in coincidence, but just some weird thing that happened to these poor bunnies. And maybe that happening to the bunnies was the shift for the goat.
Mm.
Maybe when he saw all that death, it's like, actually, I don't think I'm ready to go.
Mm.
So there was death 2 weeks to the day, but it wasn't his. But
Yeah.
maybe that, and we don't know this until you ask him, but that could have been the catalyst for him staying, or something could have shifted in those 2 weeks where suddenly began to feel lighter in his heart and, you know, appreciate the sun again in the way that he hadn't earlier on when you spoke to him. So I don't think you missed anything. And even at that time, if you'd asked, is this a true yes? You know, if you'd followed that line of inquiry, it might still have been a yes because he's still grieving. But your question there would have been, I can really feel how much you miss your sister. If there was a way that we could make your heart feel light again, would you want to stay? And even if he said, no, don't want to stay, I still want to go, then I would be revisiting that because emotions shift. It's different physical pain. I know that physical pain can go up and down as well, but when you've got a condition that's daily physical pain, that is a long-term wearing issue. The emotional pain, the grieving process, when handled well, you can support and move through that more easily than you can the physical pain. So I would always want to revisit that if it was an emotional, if the decision to leave was purely emotional. Does that help with that, Shayla?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you.
You're so welcome. Okay, great questions. Fantastic questions. Well done, everyone. So just carry on where you're at. Keep plodding through. Work through as many of the videos as you can. I know that there's a lot in there. There's actually 2 more than what there is in behavior. I never saw that coming. I have to I thought I was going to do my original plan for transition was 4 videos. Said to Louise last year, I was like, oh, transition is going to be easy. That's just going to be 4 videos. Preparing for after transition, guardian support, transition wish lists, 4 videos. That's going to be a doddle. No, the more I dived in, it was like, no, I want to separate this out. It also has the shortest training video in the history of my catalogue of training videos. It's less than a minute. One of the videos in there is something like 48 seconds long. So there are some super short ones in there, but it's because it's an area that we absolutely want to get this right. We do not want to hold an animal here who is suffering and in pain and is miserable, and we don't want to hold them here a day longer than we need to. And we also don't want to accidentally send them over the bridge before they're ready. So this is why, you know, the training is really broken down into, so what if they say yes? Like, what's your first step? And then what if they say yes as a training video? What if they say no as a training video? So it's really broken down, and it just makes it easier when you go back and you need to refresh. You're not having to watch like a whole 30-minute segment. You can go straight to the smaller segments that are relevant to your particular scenario. So yeah, a lot of training videos in there, but just work through them, and you will know what your first case study is. So if you know what your first case study is, then know that will inform which videos to watch. So Norma, you're working with Millie, you're going to have to watch preparing for transition. What if it's a yes? What if it's a no? You want to watch those videos. If somebody's first case study is an animal who's already in spirit, you're going straight to after transition, and you're watching the after transition videos. So let your case study guide the order that you watch the videos in. Okay, I'm excited for you all. Yes, Alison.
One more question. What if
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah.
What if the guardian is living in denial and doesn't really want to hear what you have to say?
So I have covered that in the context of giving permission.
Right.
So I know that's not the same as giving permission, but it's about denial. They don't want to do it for whatever reason. So what I would be follow that training, but just switch the context to overall denial, not just denial around giving permission. So really, what's coming up there for most people would be the fear of the loss, or not being able to handle the loss. And that is very rarely about the animal. And this is where I'm really moving into therapeutic work. But so one of the videos, I think it's called Essential Guardian Information, where I actually tell the story of a client of mine who was in complete denial, not about permission giving, but was in denial that it was her dog that was coming back, that had come back. And that, coupled with an example of a client who wouldn't give permission because she thought she would be speeding up the process, even though one was about not giving permission and one was about not accepting that this was her dog back, even though 3 different people confirmed that it was her dog back, or the soul of her dog back. The denial is exactly the same. It's coming from that place of what they have either lost or are scared to lose. And the gap, the hole that is left, is that animal is filling a hole or a space or a part of their life. And so when they are removed, what is the gap? That's what the issue is. If you remember to the accountability call when Robin said, oh, all the noise. Of course the noise is a distraction. But because I know Robin really well, the issue wasn't the noise. And even if I didn't know her really well, the issue was her equilibrium was thrown up in the air. Her strong foundation of what she needs to do her work was upside down. And Shayla, you did something similar for yourself. So this is where quite often the thing is not the thing. The thing is rarely the thing. So in that case, Alison, the thing isn't the denial. The thing is, what will they be left with or without when their animal goes? And it's that they can't face. That's my experience of why that would show up in that way. And I know it's not quite the same, but it really highlights the teaching here, although it's nothing to do with animals. When my first admin assistant left, I was bereft. So was she. She was crying when she left, and she said to me, across the desk, we were at our team meeting, and I had a feeling about it the night before. I wanted to cancel the team meeting, and I didn't know why. And then so we had our team meeting, and she was at the other side of the desk, and I just had a feeling, and I didn't know why. And then at the end, she said that she was handing in a resignation, and she started crying, and she said, I feel like I'm breaking up with my boyfriend or something. And I said to her, well, you're breaking up with me. It's a breakup. But I was really like, I did not see that coming. I did not see it coming. And I went for a walk in my favorite woods, and I just cried, and it's like, what is this grief, and what is this? And the question that I asked myself, and this is the question for all of you with your clients, and the story of the client that wouldn't accept the reincarnation, I had asked her this question long before we got to that stage in our journey together as client. And my first appointment with her, her attachment to her dog was off the charts. The dog had been dead 4 years, and she was still distraught. So I asked her this question on our very first consultation, and the question I asked myself was, what's been left now that Sharon's away? Like, Sharon's no longer working with me. What is it that I don't have? What is the need that needs to be replaced? What is it that has gone now that she's gone? Because it's never about her, it's about what is it? And I realized that she got what I was doing. She understood, she understood my vision, my mission. She was behind me 100% in a way that my family couldn't be. Not because they don't love me, care about me, or support me. It's none of that. They just don't get it, and they don't have the same mindset. So, if I was to come home and say, oh, I've decided to do X, Y, and Z, they'd be like, what are you doing that for? Whereas if I said that to Sharon, she'd be like, yeah, great, we could do it this way, or we could do it that way. So that, when I realized that my support and my kind of foundation on which everything sprang from was now broken, it's like, right, I need to find a way to fix that. And so for clients that are in denial, it's because what they are facing or believe they're going to be facing when their animals leave, it's too big, too painful. Does this resonate for people? Are people seeing that and understanding that's where I would be going with that one, Alison?
Okay.
So your approach then is, have you come up, is this a real scenario, or are you just wondering?
Just wondering.
Right. So in the event that it's clear that they're in denial, you want to just always be coming back to factually letting them know what's been said. So you stick to facts.
Yeah.
You're short and sweet by nature anyway, and that's what this needs. So nothing is lost in the expressiveness or the explanation of, or the reason why, because that's where I go. But when there's that level of denial, you need to take all the fluff right out and bring it down to he said, she said, he wants, she wants, he's asked for, she needs. And the more you're repeating that short, sharp, factual information around she's dying, he's dying, he wants to be put to sleep, there's less room for them to pick up on something that you've said and go down a different route. Oh, but you said earlier, so does that mean that there could still be hope?
Yeah, hope.
Like,
yeah.
No, there's no hope.
That answers it. Thank you.
The other piece in there as well, and this is what's in the Giving Permission training, that you want to really reassure them that the kindest thing that they can do, the best gift that they can give their animal friend, or for all the years of love and joy that they've brought them, is to honor their needs at this stage of their life. Okay. Well done, everyone. I can't wait to see your case studies come in. I know you all do amazing, because you always do. And if you need anything, just reach out and let me know. Okay. Have a good week, everyone. all the best with your transition work. Take care, everyone. Bye.